Great. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this workshop. Our topic today is being creative with media. So this is something we've been looking forward to as we have prepared for this workshop. And I'm sure we're going to be presenting a lot of things that you find interesting. And as always, I invite you to use the chat if you have any questions throughout the session. And of course, at the end of the session, we'll give you time to make any questions that you might have. So first, we would like to introduce ourselves, the presenters today. Myself, I'm Eduardo Rebagliati from ETS, of course. I'm the Learning Technology Specialist. And joining me here today is our LTR, Aiden. Aiden, you want to say hi?
Yeah, hi, morning. I'm Aidan, and I'm the Learning Technology Rover at ETS. Yeah, it's good to be presenting here with Eduardo about this very interesting topic.
Yeah, thank you, Aidan. Yeah, we have a lot of very cool examples that we're going to be showing you today. First, of course, we would like to begin with a land acknowledgement. So we acknowledge that UBC Vancouver is situated on the traditional and ceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And please also feel free to share your land acknowledgements if you know where you're standing on. Perfect. So let's go into the workshop. First of all, I would like to say what's the purpose of the workshop, just to be clear on that. So we're going to be exploring the relevance of multimedia, its connection to learning, and how we can incorporate multimedia objects beyond text and image, meaning like videos and different things that we'll be talking about, to create an experience, a learning experience that is richer and more engaging for students. So this is the agenda. First, we're going to be looking at some theory quite quickly, just like some concepts that are important and interesting. So we'll be discussing what is media, the relevance of media as well, how media aids teaching, and then we're going to present you with a couple of principles too. And this theory is going to be like a framework that we're going to be using for the next section, which is the bulk of the presentation, which are the possibilities and technologies. So like I was mentioning, we're going to go beyond simply text, and we're going to be exploring other media, forms of media that we can use to enhance learning. So that's going to be video, 360 images and videos, audio, and then some interactive media as well, such as H5P, bulletin boards, and mind mapping. So, and as we do that, as we explore these technologies, we're going to be making connections with the concepts that we're going to be presenting first. And of course, at the end, we're going to have a little survey, and we'll ask you to just give us like 2 minutes of your time to give us some feedback, because that helps us to improve our workshops. Also, before I go into the actual content, just to mention, I don't know if everyone knows this here, but it was announced maybe it was like a month ago already, even a little bit more, that here at ETS, we opened the Faculty of Education Studio. So this connects a lot to the things that we're going to be sharing, because we're going to be sharing some media forms that you can use to enhance teaching and learning. And many times people ask, well, I'm not sure how to make this, or I don't have like the technology or the know-how or the, any kind of support that I would need. So this is something that we offer at the Faculty of Education Studio. So at the end, I'll give some examples of that. And Aidan also is going to be sharing that link that you see there, so you can access the Faculty of Education Studio website. And I'm going to be showing that to you in the end and discussing what things we could do there together. So yeah, it's a very nice studio, as you can see in these pictures, but let's go into the workshop and we'll look at this at the end. Perfect. So first, let's talk about some theories, just like some basic ideas to have a framework that we can navigate as we go into the examples that we'll be watching later. Perfect. So what is media? And here I just want to make a quick distinction of media and multimedia, because often when we talk about media, it can also mean a different thing, kind of like the tools that we use for, newspapers and Twitter, those kind of like media. But that's not what we're going to be talking about here. That can also be used for education. Like you can use like Twitter, and you can use like these kind of tools like to implement some learning strategies. But here we're talking specifically about multimedia. So multimedia refers to the integration of text, data, images, graphics, audio, video, animation, and new emerging digital objects in digital form. So all these like new media forms that we have, that's multimedia. And it provides a way to enhance the delivery of information. So if we want to give information to someone, it's not just like the text. Of course, that helps. And we as human beings have been learning like that for many, many years. But now we have all these different media forms that can create an experience that is much, that is more rich and is more engaging as well. So that's what multimedia means. Now, of course, this is what makes multimedia quite relevant in this day and age, because today the way we experience the world is a lot through media, right? We are always like on the phone, watching videos, listening to a podcast maybe, or different like forms of media. So multimedia has become like an important medium through which we experience the world today. And it impacts many areas of human life, such as politics, culture, arts, communication, business, and of course, education. So how does media aids teaching? Like in many, many ways. We can go on like, we can have like a whole course on this, but here are some ideas. So it increases learner engagement, right? Like having content in multimedia form, it's more engaging. Like I can have a description in text, but if I also have like a video of that and like an audio reference, that's going to create a more engaging experience. So multimedia content is often more engaging and enjoyable than traditional text-based materials. Then it improves retention and comprehension. This is so true as well. And we're going to be looking at that with the examples, right? But let's say, for example, I could describe like a tree, and that will give someone an idea of what the tree is. But we could also have like a video of the tree, like a 360, like a 3D model as well of the tree. So all of this can help to improve the retention and the comprehension. And then, of course, it adapts to diverse learning styles, because as we know today, people learn in different ways. So some people prefer reading, some people prefer watching videos, some people prefer learning audio. And it's even not just like a preference, but it's also like the best way in which they learn. So using multimedia strategies also accommodates different types of learners. Great. Now, Aiden is going to talk about 4 principles that we have here that we have to keep in mind when we're thinking of how we use multimedia for teaching. Go ahead, Aiden.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So as Eduardo was talking about, incorporating media into learning materials really makes a more enriched learning experience. And to achieve this goal of creating a richer learning experience, we have a few principles that can guide you for making those engaging media pieces. First, there's designing for engagement and learning. Providing multiple ways of interacting with content improves learning, which is why multimodal course design is very effective. The more ways that students can interact, touch, and feel the content, the more engaged and interested they will be. So adding color, sound, interaction helps to make the content more real, more tangible to the students, which is how media improves the learning experience. And closely related to that is designing for all types of learners. Presenting materials in multiple media forms accommodates more learning styles and preferences, creating a more inclusive environment. So besides the sensory aspect of it, multimodal content allows students to learn content from multiple perspectives. And the more avenues you present to the students, the higher the chance that one such perspective really clicks with them and creates that aha moment for them. That mixture of media also helps them to see the bigger picture, where one resource could fill in the gaps of another one so that their understanding of the topic is more complete. Right? And still very much related to the previous 2 principles, the multimodal content is also accessible. So creating content that is universal to all learners means that anyone can engage with it regardless of background or their abilities. So it's worth noting that incorporating media into learning materials simultaneously makes them more accessible. Let's say you're combining text, images, audio, and videos all together into one module, which from the first two principles creates a rich and engaging learning experience for anyone. But doing this also allows vision impaired students to hear the content and hearing impaired students to see the content. So this is one example where learning engagement and accessibility come hand in hand with multimodal course design.
Mhm.
And finally, there's designing for relevance or creating a learning experience that's aligned with how students or individuals experience the world in contemporary life. Providing real-life context to your content allows students to relate to what they learn in a way that deepens and enriches their understanding. Personal relevance is like a very big factor in student engagement because it gives meaning and purpose to what they're learning. And incorporating multimedia to your learning materials is one way to achieve that.
Mhm. Fantastic. Thank you, Aiden. Yeah, so these are the principles that we must use when we're thinking of how we're going to be using multimedia in teaching and learning. And by the way, we had a workshop a couple of weeks ago that was on media and accessibility. So we looked in depth this aspect of designing for accessibility. So if that's something that interests you, go ahead and visit our website or our Twitter account, and you'll find the links there. Perfect. So that's like some theories, some ideas that are going to help us as we go into the examples. That this is the next section, and this is going to be really fun. We're going to be we're going to be demonstrating that multimedia is more engaging, right? Because we're going to be looking at all the different possibilities, and you'll see that it's even more fun than when you simply just see the text on this presentation and hear us speaking. Although this is already some kind of like media experience, as you can see, because you see us on the videos. And you also see like the pictures and all of that. But now let's go beyond that and let's see the different possibilities that we can find. So I described those in the overview. So we're going to be speaking of video, 360 images and videos, 3D models as well, audio, H5P, bulletin boards, and mind mapping. Okay, so that's a lot to cover. So we'll try to make it fast and concise. We're going to be showing some examples, of course, and we're going to be providing some links. And then we're going to share with you a document that has all the links, because we're not going to have the time to look at all of the examples that we prepared, but we're going to give this to you so then you can explore it in more detail, and you can also see the other examples that we didn't have the time to see. Okay, so here we go. I'm starting with the most, probably the most familiar one to all of us, because it's a huge part of our lives, which is video. And then we will go into perhaps what is more rare and novel to you. Okay, so video, we all know video. Video has become like a huge part of our lives. And video, this is a very interesting fact here. The studies have shown that video learning has positive outcomes on multiple levels. So it increases motivation, it creates deeper learning, and it can impact students in a very positive way. We all know that we as humans, we love videos. It's a way that we really engage with content. So if we think about education, if we use more videos while we're teaching and learning, that's definitely going to make something that is attractive for students and even teachers. So incorporating videos into learning design is an excellent idea. And here are some interesting facts. So a learner is likely to remember only 10% of textual content, 65% of visual content, but 95% of audiovisual content. So hence, this mode of learning effectively enhances self-learning and engages learners' attentions through courses. Even like right now, as we're speaking, and you see our, like this video here of me speaking, that definitely creates a richer experience. So we can think of this in many ways, and for that, let's see some examples to get the idea across. We'll see that in a couple of minutes. But some of the possibilities that we have, one of them is using screen capture. So a teacher might be asking, how can I incorporate more videos into my learning design? You know, like maybe like it's almost text and images. How can I do this? So that will depend on the nature of your course. But one thing that you could use are screen captures. So I'll give you an example. I remember once when I was doing my master's, I had a teacher who, when she was giving me feedback on the assignments that I was doing, she did them with a screencast. Because instead of writing something, I was doing kind of like a learning, like a course. Instead of just like writing feedback, which is great, of course, and that works well, she actually created a video of herself going through my online module that I had created and commenting on that. So I was like listening to her voice and watching her navigating the course. And that for me was much better. And I was able to grasp better the ideas that she was trying to share with me. So using screen capture is very effective depending on what you're doing, but that's one possibility. At UBC, you can do that using Camtasia. And there's another tool that is called OBS. Maybe Aidan, you can quickly look up the link and share it in the chat, but this is a free tool that will allow you to do a screencast with a lot of flexibility. It's a fantastic tool. Then we have, of course, incorporating video. So I'll give another example. When I was studying, I remember I had a teacher that at the beginning of each module, instead of just having like the overview of the course, we had a video of her, and she was explaining, just welcoming us and explaining what the course content was going to be for that specific module. So that also gave me the experience of more of a teacher presence, and it was more engaging. And it's not just like creating videos of maybe like someone speaking, but it can be videos of, you know, a process that we're going to be learning in the course, and so many types of videos. Right now, I'm speaking of kind of like self-produced videos, but you can also use third-party videos. And I'm going to be speaking of that in a couple of minutes, but that's another possibility. And of course, at UBC, if you want to record a video, you can use Zoom or you can use Kaltura. And even if you want to record something that is high quality, that like looks amazing, you can do that in the Faculty of Education studio. Okay, but incorporating videos can really enhance like the learning experience and also create a richer sense of teacher presence. Then we have animations. Animations can also be created using many different tools that we have today, such as Powtoon, Animaker, VideoScribe, and Prezi. Now, something that you might be thinking already is that this is going to, like, all this video production is going to take more time, and that's true. Like, one of the things is that if we want to create more media objects, that's going to take some investment of time. And that's why in some cases, I mean, you can take that route, but in other cases, you might want to use videos that already exist, third-party videos, because as this like video world we're in today, like especially with YouTube has really boomed in the last decades, we have a lot of fantastic content. So we don't have to go necessarily and start and create content from scratch. We can actually find very high quality content on the internet. So I'll quickly show you some examples. As we know, we do not have a lot of time to go over all of them, but just to give you an idea. So, for example, I imagine most of you are familiar with Crash Course and TED, right? So these are channels that are very educational. Oh, and there's another one too that I put here. So this is the Smithsonian channel. So I think this is the Smithsonian, it's difficult to say, channel, has is focused on nature. Okay, so let's imagine that, let's quickly watch one of these. So let's say in a course, instead of using simply images and descriptions, you can incorporate and find these amazing videos that describe, that shows a specific animal.
Has not set foot on solid ground.
You see, and it also has the music, like, and the narration. All of this makes it more rich. So when we talk about video, it's an audio-visual experience.
For more than a year.
So like this, of course, we have to be very specific to what we're teaching or our interests. So you can think right now in your own case, what kind of videos would be useful for me? So, for example, when I used to be a teacher. I used to be a music production teacher back in Peru, where I am from, and many times I was describing music studios. So then I would find videos of those studios, or I would speak about how the Beatles worked on a record, for example, and then I would find videos of them working in that record. So I would share that in the course, and it will create more of a realistic sense of what actually happened and the places that I was referring to. So you can navigate through many different channels in YouTube, or just look them up and find content that you can incorporate into courses to make the experience more engaging. So one of them, of course, is the crash course. This channel has a lot of different videos. If you go to videos, you'll find if you go to playlists, you'll find they have like a great variety of content. So like history of social science and physical science, life science, math, all of this. And these are quite engaging. They're really well designed, like great animations. The speakers are very entertaining as well, very eloquent. And I think, Aidan, you mentioned that you used this, right? Like when you were learning?
Oh yeah. In high school, like we would have a lot of videos on like history topics. When we were learning world history, our teacher would share some videos about this event, or if we were learning economics as well, there were a few videos on the topics we were learning, and it's just a very fun and very interesting way of kind of seeing the big picture of what we're learning. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, one way you can be creative with media, like going to the actual title of this workshop, is you can start thinking, how can I use like videos that already exist, so I don't have to invest too much time in producing them into my course. And of course, also thinking creative ways of how you can create videos to make the learning experience more multimodal. Okay, so I'm gonna jump now because I don't want to spend too much time in videos. I know you probably all have like a close experience to that, but there we have some examples. Now let's talk about one that maybe is not so familiar and that is pretty cool. Is 360 videos. So 360 videos, also known as surround videos or immersive videos or spherical videos, are video recordings where a view in every direction is recorded at the same time. So kind of like a 360 device that records in an omnidirectional way. And then a viewer can navigate the video in kind of like in a panoramic way. So this is something that is very immersive, and this can be a fantastic tool to use when designing a course, if you can find something that relates to your content. And the interesting thing is that now we have more and more of these videos are being produced. So you can find content that relates well to the things that you're teaching. And I've used this in a couple of courses, and students love it too, because it's so different and so novice and so interesting. So I'm going to show some examples here, and then we'll be sharing I think Aiden already shared the document, most likely, that has all these links. Okay, so then you can explore in detail. But one of them that is really cool is this one called Google Arts and Culture 360 videos. So let's watch it here. So just to show you what it basically means, if we go to this one, for example, is showing Queen Victoria's
came to Osborne.
Lakes.
And
So notice as I'm clicking and dragging, this allows me to see
that Queen Victoria and Prince Albert could
all the panorama of the video.
Swim on the beach.
And then in this case, it's kind of like a tour. So you can think like a tour and taking a tour in this place.
Queen Victoria was Empress of India, but she couldn't actually.
And you
go to
also have like
herself, although
the
she
audio
desperately
aspect,
wanted
right? You have like someone narrating and speaking,
to.
and you can
So
see the
India
space.
came to her here at Osborne. It was used quite regularly.
And it can be very cool stuff. So here's one really fun that is called How Do You Go to the Toilet in Space? So in this one,
in space. You really want to make sure that your position.
someone
I
explaining
don't know, but it's a much
how they use the toilet in space.
smaller hole than is at home. So you've got to be pretty accurate about where it's going. And the reason is you want to cover that because you want to create this.
So then you can visit this page. You'll find like many different, very cool 360 videos.
The very top branches were only accessible.
This is also speaking of a dinosaur. So this is definitely something that can be super engaging for students. And as you can see, they have like different possibilities. Like the first one that we saw was more like the actual video that you're navigating. But this last one is like an animation. We actually see the dinosaur emerging, and you can see the size and the texture and hear the sound. And here we were watching one that is quite amazing. This really takes the experience to a whole new level because this one is a review, kind of like an analysis of a painting. But it's not just like standing in front of the painting and being able to navigate like this. But this actually goes into like a whole animation, like they created this, of how this
The painting
painting,
depicts the
of the composition of the painting. So you have the narration, and then it navigates the user through the space, and you even like see the objects in the painting or the subjects in the painting moving.
precise moment when the Archangel Michael condemns Lucifer to the dark depths, following his rebellion against the divine illumination. When he falls, Lucifer brings with him other rebel angels, which have been transformed into demons. At the center of this dramatic and tumultuous composition is Archangel Michael with his wings spread, wearing a shiny gold armor. His right foot rests.
So this is a great example of how this can create a richer experience. So, like traditionally, you might have just like a little tiny picture in a book of the painting and a textual description. But in this case, we're kind of like navigating the painting. We're also like hearing someone who's commenting on that, and we can see and we can engage in many ways. So this is a great example of that. Great, so we don't have much time to continue looking at these, but as you can see, there's a lot of potential and interesting ways in which you can use this for teaching and learning.
And what I found interesting with the painting earlier is that it was also an example of descriptive video, where it used like the narration was another way that learners could engage with the content. And altogether, the music and the moving animations and the narration, it's all very immersive.
That's true, yeah, and it even has the accessibility component as well, because we have the captions there.
That's true, yeah. Like a
Yeah,
whole package, yeah.
Yeah, it's very very robust, this one, for sure. Perfect. And there's another one, like even like like going to a museum. So today, for instance, there's this one. This is in the University of no, this is in Melbourne, the Holocaust Museum. So here, this would be like going into, obviously this is a real space, and then they have created this like 360. It's not really like a video, but it's like a 360 tour of the space. So just as you would go there, now you can, in person, now you can also do this. So this is amazing. Maybe like in a history class, you're like exploring this topic, and this will be an amazing way of accessing this space. You can also, of course, I would imagine you can click on some of these, and you will probably see like more images or even like a video in this.
I didn't believe at that stage that I'm liberated. Like surgical gowns and surgical masks.
Yeah, so this is quite fantastic too. Okay, let's move on. So those are the 360 videos. Then we also have the 3D models. So this is pretty cool as well. So 3 models are these representations of objects in 3 dimensions by special software. So this also takes learning to a whole new level if we're just talking about like text and images. Of course, the text and the images are great, they can help us, but this can take the comprehension, what we were mentioning, and the retention to a whole new level. So there's a pretty cool one here by Artec 3D, and that you will find that in the document. But if we go here to this page, you'll see that they have like different categories, and then you can explore 3D models of different things. So let's say a school, right? In this case, it can be a biology class, and you're looking at the skulls. So having the option of looking at the 3D object and exploring it from all the angles is going to be a much complete experience. So let me just, what is this? The cookies. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now you can navigate that and see it from different angles. So it gives you a much more complete view of what's being learned. And this, of course, is not just like for schools, but you can see, let's go back to the section to see what else we have there. So you can go into industrial 3D models, and look at pieces, like components of different technologies. And this is also super helpful to understand how something has been composed and how it works. In this case, like many of them are for cars. You can also see like medical, probably these are like organs, skeletons. And what do we have here? Art and design. Yeah, also here like some art pieces. Okay, so we're sharing like different technologies that are there, like different media forms, and then we have to be creative in how we can incorporate them into our teaching. So in this case, it's kind of difficult for me to tell because I'm not exactly sure what you are teaching, but I'm sure that right now you can get ideas, oh, I can use this for that, or I can use this in another way. So think of that, as we watch the examples of videos and 360 videos and the 3D models and all the things that we're going to be watching in the next couple of minutes, try to make those connections of how you could incorporate this into your teaching strategies. And then, of course, we have audio. Audio is also quite familiar to us. We all know what audio is, and audio has become like a huge part as well as of our experience because audio and video are quite related. But perhaps one that I wanted to mention more specifically is podcasts. So podcasts have become like very popular in the last couple of years as well. And it's an amazing teaching device. Studies have shown that people normally can spend more time engaging with audio, even than video and text. So audio has like a very great potential to increase the engagement of students. And the thing is, something that I also wanted to mention with all these examples, like the video and the audio, is not just the teaching aspect, like how a teacher can use it, but you can also think about how a student can use it. So for example, like if you're designing courses or an assignment, like instead of having just a paper, you can also ask the students to create an audio file instead of a paper, or create a podcast episode, or create a video or a screencast. As a matter of fact, when I was doing my master's degrees here at UBC, many of the assignments, the teacher gave us a flexibility to choose the media form. And that empowers the student and also creates, is more inclusive, of course. And in the end, also when you review all the different projects that students have been working on, it's a much richer experience because you see all the multimedia forms. So also think of that, not just think of how I can use it for my teaching, but also how my students could use it to create things that represent their learning. Okay, so audio, when we speak about audio, we have, of course, podcasts, and this is a very fun way that you can also incorporate into teaching. And it's the same principle as with the videos. You know, like in the videos, we were saying that you can create the content, and certainly you can create the podcasts, but you can also find like high quality podcasts, because today we have like so many channels and places where podcasts, high quality podcasts, are being created in many different subjects. So if you're teaching like a music class, I'm sure you can find many very interesting podcasts on music. And the same applies to politics or economics or any other subject. So the cool thing also of podcasts is that it's quite diverse. It can be used like with different forms of narrative. It can be like casual dialogue or scripted dialogue or narration, interviews, and many other forms. So again, what you will be looking for depends a lot on the specific topic that you're exploring in your course theme. But here's just one example of one that is physics. This is called the Infinite Monkey Cage, which is hosted by popular physicist Brian Cox and comedian Robin Hines. So this is a cool way of, you know, showing physics that sometimes people can feel that it's kind of like boring, but it's also has like the comedy aspect to make it more engaging and fun. So that's what I was referring to when I was saying that podcasts can be presented in many ways. So they have like a nice website. Let's look it up. Yeah. And here you'll be able to find all the different episodes that they have been producing. Of course, we don't know exactly what your students might be interested in. That this will depend, of course, also on the course itself. So probably more useful is to get familiar with the podcast search engines. So just as you can Google something, and of course you can Google to look for podcasts, you can also, or should I say, we also have podcast engines that will help you to find any kind of podcast that you might want to use. So, and of course, if you want to produce the podcast, you can use one of these hosting tools, which are free, such as Podbean, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Storyboard. Okay, so if you go here, one of these search engines, let's say we're looking for history of Canada. And we'll find many podcasts that relate to that. Okay, so I don't want to take much more time because Aidan also is going to be sharing some interesting multimedia, more on the interactive element. Okay, so let's look at those and then we'll go into the questions. And of course, as we are presenting, feel free to post here any questions on the chat. I mean. Okay, Aidan, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just go ahead and just share my screen here. Right. Okay. So while Eduardo talked about the audio-visual media types for engagement, this section's more focused on interactive media that you can incorporate into your courses. So first we have H5P, and H5P is an HTML5 content editor that allows you to embed interactive objects into websites and course blogs, including Canvas and WordPress. And instead of coding these objects yourself in HTML, H5P has a very intuitive interface for creating and editing the objects. And I'll just show you some of the examples here, just to illustrate like the possibilities. So here we have what we call image hotspots. So you have a background image here, and there will be markers for things you can click. And when you click them, you can have a set of notes here. Yep, you can even embed videos here. So it's a very nice way of having an image and then interacting with the image to also learn the content. And you can even make some games here. Like this one here is for flashcards. So green sour fruit, let's say lime. And yeah, you can use these as like very simple games to for your students to really interact with the content and maybe test themselves as well. Right? And these are some of the simpler things that you can do, probably some of the more common things you can do with your courses. This one's a bit more advanced. So this is the course presentation content type. And here you can make modules or presentations in H5P, which also incorporates some of the other games or features that we have that are more simple. So this one's like a multiple choice. And let's say, what color? Okay, yeah. So you can have the quizzes embedded into the presentation as part of the learning material. And it really makes it more visually appealing, more more interactive. Yeah. And yes, you can include the questions like these. There are objects you can make for specifically multiple choice questions or fill in the blanks. Yeah, it's very, there are a lot of different ways that you can use H5P. And yep, like another cool example is interactive video. So then if you have a video that you want to annotate or put notes in, then you can do that right here. So ingredients list, and it will show you what's being made in the cooking video. And I think there's another one here. Yeah, so there's a quiz, maybe to review the recipe that you just learned in the first minute. So there are a lot of things you can do, and it's very simple as well to make them on H5P.
Yeah, and by the way, if ETS, we provide support on how to use H5P. So if this is something you want to learn, or anything, any of the technologies that we've been sharing, then you can connect with us. So we'll be sharing our email address in the end. I'll put it in the chat right now as well. And you can always contact us, and you can do like a one-on-one consultation with us. And yeah, this is a fantastic way in which students can be less, and also like some of the examples that we have seen already, like the videos and the 3 models, in which students can be in a less like of a passive position, and they can be more active in the learning.
Right, yeah. And the more that they can really like touch the content and interact and all that, it really helps make that really rich learning experience. And okay, so the next one, we'll just go back to the presentation here. So yeah, these are all examples you can find in the document. Again, a lot of different possibilities. On the H5P website as well, they have a whole web page of just examples if you want to have a look. And the next type we have is virtual bulletin boards. And virtual bulletin boards are web-based apps where multiple users can simultaneously create posts and annotations together. So teachers can create engaging interactive learning materials, or simply make a space for students to discuss or post their thoughts on a guide question or a topic. And students can even use these for alternative assessments. And I can show you some of the examples again, like just to illustrate more of the possibilities. So this one's the simplest type of virtual bulletin board. This is using Padlet. This one's just to make different post-it notes. So maybe if you want your students to introduce themselves or to say, like, compliment each other, and really start like getting to know the students at the start of the term. Or even if you had like a guide question or a reflection question, they could also post some of the thoughts that they have, some stories that they have. If you want a bit more organized, they do have, this is a shelf type, which has different sections. And you could, this is a guide on like running a marathon, for example. So you can make learning resources like these with organized post-it notes. And you can scroll through the notes like this. Very interactive, very visually appealing, very engaging. And yeah, another type is, this is what we call a timeline. So this one shows from the sun all the way to Neptune, all the planets in the solar system, a bit of the facts here as well. So you can also do maybe a step-by-step process, like step 1, step 2, step 3, you can do that, or a timeline of historical events. Really, the possibilities are endless with these types of media. And that's a few examples with Padlet. Another thing you can, or another app that you can use for the bulletin boards is Jamboard. So then Jamboard is very similar to Padlet, where they can just make post-it notes. I think this is a good example here. So then everything that you know about the Greek god Poseidon, you would put a post-it note about maybe god of the sea, or uses a trident, and then all your students can collaborate on this board. Yeah, like this. So then this is very similar to Padlet, as we've seen earlier. But another cool thing about Jamboard is that it's more like a digital whiteboard, if you will. So then instead of just using post-it notes, you can have students draw and sketch. You can have them circle things and then say, okay, this is what this part of the painting means. This section is noteworthy. So you can, I'd say there are a lot of features like with Jamboard, like a lot more that you could do with Jamboard. And yeah, so identify northern and southern. So you can have them divide the country here and then annotate like that. So it's a lot of things you can do with the Padlet or Jamboard. Between just the students making discussions or annotations, and also you as the instructor making the learning materials. Yeah. And so yes, all of these are in the document as well. And for the Jamboard templates, you can make a copy of these if you think that the format is interesting, and then use that copy for your classes. So that's another way that you can use the resources that we've linked. And finally, we have mind mapping. So mind maps are visually engaging diagrams and flowcharts that connect keywords and ideas based on one central topic or goal. So like virtual bulletin boards, they can be used for interesting learning materials that explain concepts in a non-linear way, and assignments that test the students' understanding and creativity. So then let's say instead of writing out or using a textbook excerpt for explaining some concept or a lesson that you're teaching, you can use a mind map to visually show the connections between ideas. And students can also use a mind map to demonstrate that understanding instead of a traditional essay. So that's a more creative way of assessing their learning. Yeah. And here we'll have a few more examples. So these are all mind maps done in XMind. So for example, you have a business plan. What do you need for your business? And then you have sub-components, and then you have even more of the details. It's a very, yeah, it's very eye-catching, but also still very informative and organized. And not just for business. So this one is talking about the different, I believe the different benefits of vitamin A, or a lot of information about it. I don't read German, but it also goes to show that this app is being used by a lot of people internationally. A lot of their examples were not in English, so it's good to see that the way of using mind maps for ideas isn't locked on a certain country. It's a very human way of understanding concepts. And yeah, with this app, you can also organize it into a table. So this is a recipe for making chicken cutlet with sun-dried tomato cream. Yep. And yeah, this it's really just showing you the possibilities, and depending on what you need for your course or how you want to teach your students, I'm sure there's a template out there or something you can come up with, something you can create that will really engage your students in the content. Right. And that's
it.
Yeah, that's it for me. Yes.
Yeah. I'll share again. Thank you, Aiden. Yeah. So these are also like other fantastic ways you can incorporate media. So yeah, we're almost with the time. So thank you so much for everyone that has been here. I hope this has been informative and useful. And of course, as I was mentioning from the beginning, it's a huge topic. So if you want to connect with us to learn more and talk about this and how you can use it in your teaching or learning, let us know. Now we would like to finish, I'll talk about the Faculty of Education Studio, but first also Aiden is going to share this link here. So if you can give us a hand and complete the survey, it should take you like 2 minutes. To do that, we will be really appreciated. So you can share that, Aiden.
Right.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll wait a minute and then I'll go into describing the Faculty of Education Studio to wrap it up. Thank you. As you do that, remember that you can always follow us on Twitter. So we're always on Twitter making posts, announcing new workshops that we have, and also sharing some interesting content that we find there. So join us on Twitter. Also, you can visit our website, which is ets.educ.bbc.ca. Great. So now to finish, I'd like to show you the page, our Faculty of Education Studio page. So this is hosted on our website, on the ETS website. So the ETS website is ets.educ.bbc.ca, and you can also share the link there. And if you go to our website, you'll find we have a section here, the FOE Studio. So you just go to or you can go straight to the page, which is the link that Aiden just shared. So if you go there, you'll find the page of the studio, which describes where the studio is, what the studio is used for, and some of the features that we have there. So the equipment, such as cameras, we also have professional microphones, we have a green and a blue screen, we have a graphic tablet, of course we have lighting, we have good production software, and the place is equipped with acoustic treatment. And then the kind of projects that you can do you could record podcasts, you can do lecture, instructional videos, kind of like, like the screencast, but in really high quality. Also like post-production, live streaming, interviews, and announcements. So this is a studio, and many of the things that we've been discussing today could be produced in the studio. So if you want to use these facilities, let us know. And the way you can let us know, you can write to us straight to our email address, or you can also use this form here. So we have a consultation form that you can click here, and you'll be able to put all the information, your name, your department, your role, your email, and then describe the project. And that way you can we'll touch base with you, and we can start connecting on thinking of how we can create something together. So also, if you visit our website and if you use our email, feel free to reach out if you have more questions related to the topic that we presented today, or if you want to get more, maybe do a consultation of how you can use the media in your courses. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. We hope you had a good time here looking at these examples, and especially we hope that you find a way of incorporating this into your strategies. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.